of it is, again, sorry, my hands were, speaking of sensory textures and not tolerating it well. Let's see. A lot of this food is like it velcros together. So, oh, of course, these two pieces don't go together. And they love to put it together and cut it. And we've got knives that they can use. They get their cutting boards out, and again, it's just another way to, you know, they just cut. Working on those fine motor skills, you know, and it's also language, because we can talk about, you know, what is that? What are you cutting? Oh, it's banana, or it's a corn on the cob, or, you know, so everything is multi-purposed. This is what we do. But yeah, everybody likes to play in the kitchen. We've got, and probably their favorite things. Oh my gosh, yeah, I should have gotten in here and cleaned up. Sorry, it's like at home when visitors show up. Pizza is one of their favorites. Oh. And again, it's, yeah, they can put their favorite toppings, pepperonis and mushrooms, you know, and then they can cut you a piece. And they'll serve it up. They'll bring it to you. So it's just fun. It's teaching functional living skills as well. You know, all of it is. You know, we just, so many just assume that we're born knowing how to do so many things, when typically developing children will learn it through observation or just trial and error, where a lot of children who are developmentally delayed, and specifically children who live on the autism spectrum, they don't get that piece. That piece is missing. And so every part of every step has to be taught. You know, whether it's a social skill or a language skill or, you know, even things like this, just that interacting with other people, having them sit at the table, pretend that you're fixing lunch, ask them if they want pizza, you know, and just doing all those things. We call it, playing is work for children, and that's how they learn. So, learn by doing. So, it's my pizza parlor. And there's a birthday cake that does the same thing. No. But, anyway. So, you want the birthday cake? Here's birthday cake. It has candles, yeah. You can put how many candles you want on there. We've got jelly beans you can put on top. You can do strawberries, whatever kind of cake you want. And you can cut it again. So, it's all fun. I tell people I have the best job in the world. I get to come to school and pretend and play all day long. I get to teach kids how to ride tricycles and climb and slide, and I get to do all that stuff too, and nobody thinks I'm weird because I'm teaching children how to do it. So that's it. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was great.
Oh.
You're fine, Anna.
Yes, I know. Sorry. I was kidding.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I hope she doesn't get me.
No, and a structure of, you know, a group activity. So we have morning meeting, and I can't show you really, but they have their pictures are all on. I can show them from afar. You won't be able to tell. But everybody has a picture with their picture and their name on it, and so they have to come find their picture and put it on the board to let me know that they're there. And that's when we work on language development, talking about learning our personal information. You know, if you're a boy or a girl, how old you are, who's your mom, who's your dad, what's your name, you know, what's your friends' names, those types of things, just to work on language. The whole classroom is extremely a language-rich environment. Everything we do encompasses language. So That's one of the big points that we work on. But this is this is where we do a story. We sing songs. It usually lasts about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's just a time for kids to understand a structured activity that they all have to participate. It's learning how to take turns. It's learning how to do your part, and just that school portion. Okay, and then we have our computers, but then you see all these, let me get my chair out of them. There's different areas, you're fine. There's different areas, like this would be like the block area, and there's home living, and we'll open up, Amber, can you open up the sensory table so they can see what's in there? I know your hands are all red. But we always have something in the sensory table that goes along with our theme. Our theme this week are bugs and insects. Or flowers and insects, that's what it is, flowers and insects. So you'll see things around. The room changes every 2 weeks. All the toys, not all, but a lot of the manipulatives, all the artwork, everything changes every 2 weeks to a new theme. So you'll have to get over in the sensory table at some point because it's full of dirt and worms and flowers and flower pots, so they can play in the dirt and plant flowers and play with the worms. They're not real worms; they're play worms. But that's always a favorite spot. And then we have our easel art, and we have another area that's our reading center where the little red couch and chair are. If you go behind there, there's a mat, and there's all kinds of balls, and there's a big mirror on the wall. There's also a texture panels, so kids can have a sensory experience of different touches, different feels. Some are soft. There's bubble wrap. There's carpet. There's sandpaper. All those kind of things, and they like to feel and touch those things. So that's all kind of kinesthetic, hands-on, feeling, touching, that kind of thing. Sensory integrated in there. We usually try to have at the tables some manipulative type toys to work on fine motor skill and to work on cognitive skills. There'll be some sorting activities that they need to sort by color or by shape or by function. The tree thing right there is birds. They build birds and they come together. I don't know if you can see. They build the bird. So they put, they are magnets, so they go on. They can build them however they choose to build them. But it's just, again, everything kind of works on all those 5 domains that we talked about earlier. You're working on the language and the fine motor skills and adaptive skills, being able to share and to play with other kids, and even your teachers, allowing them to come in and work with you as well. So, and then we have puzzles. We always have puzzles out. So there's usually about 6 centers that are always open for kids. So we do our morning meeting, and then we have center time, and usually we'll either go outside or we'll go to the gym and play for gross motor skills. And then we come back and have snack. And even for us, even eating is a time of teaching and learning, because many of our friends don't know how to drink from a straw or even feed themselves, or we work on learning how to swallow and chewing and all those things that you just kind of take for granted or assume that everybody knows how to do. They don't. And so that's a big portion of what we do is, teaching them how to chew, teaching them how to eat, use your utensils, drink from a straw, and table manners. Even we work on, everybody sits and waits until everybody's done, and then we throw it away, push the chairs up under the table. So you're teaching all of those things. They all incorporate into the day. So, and then after snack, we usually do a little bit of quiet time with my smart board. We'll either do an activity on the smart board, or we'll watch a little bit of a movie of some sort that goes along with whatever theme we're doing in the classroom at the time. And then it's time for them to go get on the bus.
So is it a half-day program?
It is a half-day program. I have a morning group and an afternoon group. The morning group comes from 7:45 to 11:15, and the afternoon group comes at 11:15 and leaves at 2:15. So, there's no planning time or eating time, but we take time for that. But that's why on Wednesdays I don't have kids, because Wednesdays is my planning day, and we had 3 meetings this morning with parents, and did some evaluations on kids who may be coming into the program. So we just see kids on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesday is a work day for us to do things. So.
Some of your sensory activities, is that important for kids that have autism?
Absolutely, yeah, that's huge. For me, and let me show you. Many children on the spectrum, for whatever reason, they have what's called hyposensitivity. So you may see them, they may be just running all over the place, or they run into the walls, or when they're trying to get somebody's attention, instead of tapping them like we would do to get their attention, they'll hit them, or they'll just slam into them, like when they want to play tag outside with other friends. They don't get that it's just a touch. They think that they have to really slam into them, and because they have a hard time feeling and sensing that touch. So what we do with a lot of kids is we'll have a weighted vest. We have weighted vests. It has weights on the inside of it. This one weighs about 4 pounds, and it just Velcros off. You can add other ones. We have homemade ones too. This is a store-bought one, but this helps those kiddos kind of get their body centered, and just gives them that little bit more weight that helps them calm down sometimes. I've got weighted blankets that when we're sitting around watching a movie, or if we're just sitting trying to do our morning meeting, we'll sit the blanket in their lap, and a lot of them will come where they ask for it. When they're having a meltdown, a lot of times kiddos who are on the spectrum, if they're having a meltdown, they'll actually come to me and say, vest on, vest on, vest on, so they know that helps them calm back down again.
That's amazing if they know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once you get them to wear it, sometimes that's a struggle, but most cases, when it's going to be effective for them, they know immediately, and they'll even come in my room seek it out to try to find it. There's been a lot of research, and in the beginning they said, don't let them wear it for more than 30 minutes, and then take it off of them, because then they get acclimated to it and it doesn't do any good. Now there's more research that's been done that's really not so much the case. They're seeing now that they really do work. They can wear them for 2 hours even, and it just helps keep their body calm. And I kind of, with some of these, I kind of think about it like, when you're really stressed out and you're kind of nervous, and if somebody would just come up from behind you and just squeeze you really tight, how much better that makes you feel. It's what the vest does. And there's also compression vests that do that hold them tight. We do a lot of deep compression and squeezing, and even the head. A lot of kids like to have their head squeezed, and like if you ever have a headache, how you just push on it, how it makes it feel better. It's the same thing. So we do a lot of that. But yes, sensory stuff with children on the spectrum, in most cases, they need a lot of that. They need a lot of, we call it heavy work, where I might take them down into the gym and they carry around this big mountain that I have. It's a climbing structure is what it is, and it's padded, and it's a half circle, but it has handles on it, and they can either just push it, across the floor, or they can pick the handles up and drag it, and it just makes all the difference in the world to give them a little bit of heavy work for about 10 minutes, and then they can come back and they're calmed back down. Swings are another thing. I have a big swing down in the gym that has a hammock in it right now, and you can put them in the hammock and we swing, and some of them like to just swing as high as it'll let them go, and do it for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then you can come back, and they're like, okay, I'm ready, and they'll tell you, I'm done, I'm ready to go, and yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Do you have any reasons why that might work for them, or?
Well, it all goes back to your core and what centers you. If you really sat down and thought about it, you have certain things that you do for yourself that calm you down, or that when, you're just needing to have some time to regroup yourself, you do certain things. You may not even know you do it, but you do certain things. And it's the same thing for them.
Very cool. I think we'll move the camera over to that and do some video over there.
Okay. Well, these are pretty cool too. This is a ball that's full of foam pieces, and it's easier for kids to hold on to and catch. Not so much for adults, but for kids.
I like it like coordination. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. This is the texture panels that the kids like to feel. It just gives them different sensory input, smooth and kind of bumpy, and then felt that's soft, and then the sandpaper. A lot of kids, and those that are even on the spectrum, they don't like certain textures. And they don't like them on their hands, and they don't like them in their mouth. And so we work a lot on teaching them to tolerate those things. And so we'll do a lot of hand over hand where we will actually put their hands on things that we know that might be a little not so nice for them. But just to get them to understand that it's okay and it's not gonna kill you to touch it, and it's because and the same thing with food, putting different things to their mouth and having them lick it or touch it, and smooth, crunchy, just depends on the kiddo. But for some reason, children that live on the autism spectrum, that seems to be an area that is usually pretty universal. Sensory issues and textures are a problem, can be a problem. So we have our wall. You can do a lot more. I need to do new ones. These are kind of falling apart, but I've seen them in even families' homes. They'll have a wall that they've done something similar to this with. The mirror too. The kids love to look in the mirror. When we work on language to show them how to form their mouth, or to make certain sounds or letters. And they just like to come over here and make faces in it too, so it's just fun to, and they do pretend. They'll they'll dress up and come over and look at themselves in the mirror and do stuff like that. It's just, and when we have kids who are non-ambulatory, we'll come over here with them on the mat, and we do a lot of that kind of thing too over here, so that they can see themselves in the mirror because it's low down and that kind of thing. So
very cool. Okay, well, now we'll go over to the.
Okay, everyone's ready. So we'll just start off by tell us a little bit about your job, how you got started, what led you here.
okay.
Free reign.
Okay. My name's Robin Atkinson, and I have a degree in special education with a master's in leadership and learning with an emphasis in special ed. I've been teaching special ed for 26 years. I've been at the RECC, Richmond Early Childhood Center. This is my 7th year here. I started with the 4- and 5-year-old pre-K special ed program, and 3 years ago they asked me to take over the 3-year-old program, which is for the littlest children that we have, the developmental delays. They come out of either sooner start and transition into public school at the age of 3. So, and that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years.
And what kind of led you into special education, realizing that that's what you wanted to do?
When I was in junior high school, I taught, or I didn't teach, but I did teach. I taught gymnastics and tap dancing at a daycare center, and one of the little guys that I had was living with Down syndrome, and his name was Bo, and he is the reason I do what I do today.
Can I say something real
Yeah.
quick? I'm trying not to swivel.
Oh,
in the
sorry.
chair. It just makes sorry.
What are some of the struggles that you have here on a daily basis, just a day in the life?
Struggles?
Yes, struggles and just best part, worst part, peak, pitfall.
I think struggles probably are just keeping kids. It's a very structured. We try to keep it very structured so it's predictable, so kids know what's coming. It's a safe environment. They understand that after we do breakfast, and we go to PE, and then we have morning meeting. But the challenge of this program is that as soon as children turn 3 and qualify for my program, they're allowed to come. So I have new children attending on a regular, they come all year long. So I started the year with 11 students, and I am now at 27.
And they can just keep coming?
Yeah.
Wow. And you've already told me how long you've been working here. How does the kind of pre-autistic kid differ from children with other disabilities?
I wouldn't say at this age you wouldn't see a whole lot of differentiation. There may be a little less verbal language, or there may be most children, once if they are diagnosed on the spectrum, structure seems to be kind of hard for them. They kind of want to do their own thing. They tend to stay in their own kind of cocoon, and so where you might have some other younger developmentally delayed children who are much more open to you being in their space. Children who do have a diagnosis of autism don't like you in their space much, or you'll go over to interact with them, and they'll immediately move and go somewhere else. It's just a part of that syndrome. Is just you're not really another person. You're just an object, kind of. They don't see you as who they are. They haven't recognized that yet. So I think that's probably.
And is there, I know it's hard to put your finger on one, but is there one particular experience that you've had teaching that stands out in your mind?
Oh my gosh.
You know.
I probably will have to say I had, it's been a few years ago, but I had a little guy that their family was here from Egypt. And their son had never been in school, and he was on the spectrum. They did have a diagnosis, a private diagnosis, so he was on the spectrum. But he had never been in school anywhere. He'd never been really around other children other than his siblings. I got him in October, and he had no language at all. He just would scream. And by Christmas, he was able to communicate to us his wants and his needs. We do a lot of sign language, basic sign, and so he learned how to get his wants and needs met through either signing that to us, finally getting some verbalization to go along with that. And then when they actually were called back to move back to Egypt in May, it was very sad. His dad came to me and asked him if I would be willing to keep him here and have him live with me. So that was hard.
Wow. And what teaching methods do you use?
Oh my gosh, I use just anything that will work. I don't believe that there's a cookie cutter method that works for all children all the time. So we do floor time. We do a little bit of ABA. If you see like picture schedules and things like that, that corresponds with an ABA type philosophy, which I do some of that, but it really is more of a holistic approach. And we have IEPs that are written for each individual child, and so we work with whatever those needs are. But I would just kind of call it a mismatch of. I've learned through the years that you kind of just have to get in there and work with each child and see what's going to work. What works one day is not always going to work the next day. So you have to be very flexible and ready to, as I call it, tap dance a lot to make it work. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
And does the teaching method differ from class to class, or are you trying to keep it structured?
No, it stays pretty much the same. What our expectations are for different groups, and I didn't explain that very well, but let me go back. The way my program works, since it's the 3-year-olds, and it's usually their first experience in a school setting. So they only come 2 half days a week. So I either have them on Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday, and they come either in the morning or they come in the afternoon. So I have 4 sections of students, and we try to group them developmentally so that their strengths and capabilities are similar so that we can work on the same things with that group. So yeah, one group may look a little different, but as far as the daily routine, that's the same. The routine stays the same. The level of what we're doing may differ. Like when we're doing morning meeting with my kiddos who are higher functioning, we'll go into more in depth of, when they're working on personal information, telling me their name, telling me their parent's name. We might work on telling me your sibling's name for one group. But for another group, all they may be able to tell me is, how are you today? And they're able to sign to me that they're fine. So that way it differentiates in the extent of expectation.
And what would you say has been the most rewarding thing of all of your experience teaching?
I think probably, I actually taught high school when I started teaching, and I've worked my way down. But sticking with this age group, probably meeting parents and their children, and in many cases parents are very apprehensive about sending their 3-year-old child to school. And having those families who come in rather apprehensive, but by the end of their experience here are singing our praises. And I love working with families. I'm a huge advocate of their children and the families. It's a unit, and I don't believe that it's just the child that I work with. I work with the entire family, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles. The whole thing. So I think that's probably the most rewarding thing for me, is seeing families feel comfortable sending their children to school, but then also feeling okay with who their child is and being able to start there and go forward with working through the schools or whatever else they need to work in. But just getting that a lot of times you get parents that are in somewhat of denial of where they are, where their child is. And so I love seeing that kind of curtain melt away, and they're able to enjoy who their children are and experience the family the way that their family's supposed to be experiencing it.
And is there anything you want to add to make people
I think the one thing I really always try to put out there is people who have a disability, they are not that disability. They are people who live with a disability or whatever that is. And it's called people first language. And it's very important that when you are talking about or with a child or a family that's living with a disability of some sort, that you always speak in people first language. You've heard me say many times, they live with this or they live on the spectrum, those types of things. So I think that's probably one of my soapboxes is, always put people first. So,
thank you so much.
you're welcome. You're very welcome.
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
What is the process of how kids get into your class? Like, where you said they come from Sooner?
Some come from Sooner Start. Some come from Head Start. Some come from referrals from the health department. Some come from referrals from pediatricians. Some come from we see families in Walmart. And it's true. And you get to talking and they ask you what you do, and but the process is that a referral has to be made, and then we have to get consent from the parent to do evaluations, and then you have we bring the child in with the parent, and there's some paperwork that the parent does, and then we work with the child to do that evaluation to see what his skills are. There's 5 areas that you look at. You look at cognitive, adaptive, social emotional, motor skills, and speech and language. And you look at those 5 domains, and they have to have a 50% delay in one or a 25% delay in two in order to qualify for this program.
Is there any other qualifications?
Nope. You got to live in our district. You have to be, you have to live in Stillwater district. But this program, this 3-year-old program, is for the whole district of Stillwater. So I get all the kids from every elementary that would go to any elementary here in Stillwater. So.
And then from your program, they go to like preschool or kindergarten or?
They, from here, they can we have another special ed program that's for pre-K kids, but those are if they're significant, and so they would be more of a self-contained program and not go out into the regular classes. But for the most part, after this program, they go back to their home schools, wherever that may be, and they have support from the special ed teachers that are in that school, and they also are integrated into the regular pre-K classrooms. We're huge on inclusion. That's an important piece of the puzzle, is to get children who are typically developing and children who are developmentally delayed integrated together, so that that's just a natural progression for those kids throughout their school career, that it's not, that's just their friend, that's their friend who is in a wheelchair or, or has a feeding tube or whatever. It's normal to them. And when I was in school, that wasn't normal. You didn't have kids like that in your classrooms, but today it is. Okay.
Do you think that has anything to do with it?
I don't know if it's the dirt, but I think it can have to do with just the feel of different things. Again, some people they just really like the way dirt feels. I mean, I have colored rice that I put in here sometimes. Kids love rice. I've had, like in the winter time, we did fake snow. I do water. We've had sand. They love sand. I think it really maybe has more to do with just the way it kind of feels as it goes through your hands, and all of that goes along with it. I make goo sometimes. It's made out of cornstarch and water, and when you squeeze it, it makes a ball, but then it just immediately melts and it turns back into a liquid. So kids really like stuff like that. I just think one of the reasons we all have sensory tables and we put different things in it, it's because people just like working with their hands and getting your hands into different things, whether it's dirt or whatever it is. It feels good. So your hands they're some of the most sensitive parts of your body are your hands, and so that's why it's important to learn how to tolerate different textures and things. So once you get it in your hand, then it's not quite so evasive to try and do it in other places, to get it to your mouth or your face or your feet. And we put shaving cream down on this thing right here too, and we ice skate. So.
That's cute.
Amber, I am so sorry.
No, you're fine.
I feel bad.
No,
Should
I
I
was
make
just doing
you
it
take
like
it
the
down?
YMCA.
But yeah, this is where when the kids know we're changing themes, this is the first place they come, is to see what's in the table.
Oh.
They want to know what's new in the table.
What are some other things that you've had in there?
Well, rice. We do water. We've had sand. And I do, sometimes I have done even, I cover it in our art paper, and then we take Hot Wheel cars or trucks, and I give them pans of paint, and so they can paint all over. They can drive their cars, and so they do that. I haven't put any of the water beads. You can buy the water beads that when you add water to them, they expand and get bigger. But I'm afraid my kids might put them in their mouth, and so I haven't done any of those. Some of the regular pre-K teachers have, and the kids love them, but I haven't. I put fake snow, pinto beans, any kind of beans. Kids like that.
They don't try to eat them?
No, if they do, don't hurt them. You won't hurt them. And feed corn. I do feed corn a lot because, and again, I don't ever put anything in here that if they did put it in their mouth, it's not going to hurt them. Everything in my room is kid friendly, and so even the Play-Doh, I make homemade Play-Doh, and I don't have any right now, and I'm sorry that I don't, but the recipe's in the book. And it's the best Play-Doh ever because it's really soft and pliable, and so the kids can really, if you've ever played with store-bought Play-Doh, and it smells bad. I don't like the smell of it. So I can add scents to this one. I put cinnamon in it, or I'll add lemon, or strawberry, or green. We put mint in there. You can put. The problem with that is they do eat it when it smells good, but it doesn't hurt them because it's just flour, water, salt, and oil, and that's it. And it's the best Play-Doh. It will last for weeks and weeks. In fact, when we're done with it, one of my TAs always takes it home. Or you guys split it. I'm not sure what you do. But it's the best Play-Doh ever. And so that's another sensory thing that kids really like. And that just builds your hand muscles as well for your fine motor skills. So everything that's in here is multifaceted. It doesn't have just one, what's the word I'm looking for? Purpose. Thank you. Not just one purpose. It all kind of incorporates all those areas that we work on. And if you get down here and start playing, and it's just kind of, it's soothing, and you can have I have one of the assistant superintendents, she'll say, I'm having a really bad day. All I got to do is go to the 3-year-old program and sit in the middle of the floor and play with kids, and my day is better immediately. It's just, adults forget to play. We need to learn how to play again. It makes life so much more fun to get dirty every now and then. So, anyway, that's the sensory tool.